Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again, and today we have another show lineup for y'all. Today we have a guest that's going to talk to us today, Minister Carenda Deonne. She is an author, a keynote speaker, and TV personality. Today we're going to have a fun topic. We're going to talk about how to level up. But before we just do that, let's welcome our guest today, Carenda, to the show and say how you doing.
I'm well. How are you?
All is well. All is well. So before we dive into today's topic, how to level up, kind of share with the audience a little bit of you and your business.
Oh, sure, absolutely. First, thank you again for having me on your platform. I am excited to join in and encourage our listeners on tonight or whenever they're listening in to your show. But I am from Baltimore, as we say, be more. Some of us say be more careful, but from Baltimore, Maryland, born and raised, only girl, two brothers, daddy's girl. But at a very young age, my parents had me very active in several things, one being piano, another being, theater, some classes in that. But I took dramatic reading contest or participated in dramatic reading contests. And from a very young age, my parents had me before audiences and on stage and learning how to present and learning how to connect with people. And that has just stayed with me throughout. I also, at a very young age, loved writing poetry. I was, I was a girly girl, still am a girly girl, and but writing was a safe place for me. So, a lot of times when kids were outside jumping fences and playing in dirt, I was in my room, just using my imagination, creativity, and writing poetry. And my mom said to me that take that seriously. One day, it might turn into a book, or it may go into something bigger. And initially I just said it's a hobby, but sure enough, it did. And Soul of a Poet was my first book that I had did, and very proud of that project. And since then, um, became a contributing writer for a book called The Wait, WAIT, to Success. And then after that, launched another project called Patty Messed Up, which is a 40-day inspirational devotional for women, learning how to embrace their mistakes and move forward gracefully. So I would say definitely with the support of my parents and them supporting my gifts and talents at a very young age has helped me to be the woman I am today and walking in those gifts and talents today as a speaker and author.
Once again, listen to Refocus Radio, talking to our guest today, Minister Carenda Deonne. And you mentioned how poetry, you started at a young age. How do you believe writing poetry has helped you develop your creativity and imagination?
Oh, wow. Oh gosh, it definitely has. Again, writing for me was a safe place, and it was a place where I didn't have to hold back. I didn't have to, um, you know, be reserved, so to speak. It was a place where I could let it all out. The pen and the paper became freedom for me, and so no matter what I was going through or challenges I was facing, if it was in school or just developing as a young woman, writing just allowed that space for me to express. And it just really helped to develop because I was able to really be in tune with emotions and with feelings. And so, still to this day, I don't write poetry as much as I used to, but still to this day, when I do write, it's just like I just can feel it. It's just that emotion, that rush of creativity, of words coming to life, and of truly letting those words speak for you without reservation. So it helps to build confidence, and it helps you to love the skin that you're in. I believe I forgot what commercial or brand that is, but it's true. But it helps for you to be confident in who you are when you put pen to paper. So I'm very big on that.
And speaking of being confident, that goes into transition to our topic for today, how to level up. So, starting off, for you, what does leveling up mean personally for you?
Yeah, so leveling up, it means quite a few things, but I'll say one major thing it means to me. It's knowing who you are, and it's being true to that. Because truth be told, you can have influence of others. You can be influenced by advertisement, by social media. You can be influenced by what you see other people are doing, but that does not necessarily mean that's what you are to do, or that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to say yes to that project or initiative or that investment. So leveling up is really understanding who you are. That's number one. Truly, and being true to that, being okay with that. Um, embracing those strengths and those weaknesses, and not allowing yourself to get caught up in something that really is not aligned with your purpose. So that's one thing. And another way in which leveling up is important is leveling up when you're going through those rough moments in your life, because it's all good when everything is well, and you've got your cheerleaders and your fan club and your audience, and everyone's giving you a standing ovation. But when it feels like ground zero, how do you level up then? How do you work your way back up when you feel that you've hit rock bottom? And so there's several ways that leveling up applies to people. But one of the things that I've been talking about a lot lately is, first and foremost, is knowing who you are and being true to that in itself.
You mentioned earlier about aligning with your purpose. Do you have an example of a time where, when you align with your purpose, how it brought you to unexpected opportunities or just, blessings?
Yeah, so one of the things that I have done quite a bit in life is pivot. And pivoting is necessary at times, but it really shouldn't be the norm. I would pivot because I would hear a good idea. I would tell my girlfriends, like, I am a salesperson's dream come true. They don't even have to work hard with me. I'm like, oh, it does this, it does that. Sign me up. I'm all in. So for me, it was like if it was a good idea, or if other people were doing it, or everybody was getting on the bandwagon and investing and doing this, I felt like, okay, then that means I need to do it too. And that's not necessarily true. And so pivoting, it's it gets old after a while, because at some point you've got to stop turning around in circles, or turning pages, and really make progress. And so one of the things that I really had to do was just come to grips with understanding, listen, my purpose is to encourage women. My purpose is to minister. My purpose is to speak life through inspiration, through God's word. And that's what I'm purposed to do. And so, pivoting is good, but it shouldn't be the norm. So if you find yourself, one month you're involved in this project, and then the next month, you know, you signed up to do something else, it's going to be hard for you to get focused and really put that time and effort in on what your purpose is. So I would say, just definitely take inventory. I had to do that. I had to start saying no to a lot of things, and if I did pivot, it was for the purposes maybe to rebrand, or maybe to align with how my industry was changing to service people. But it's no longer to pivot because I'm just trying to keep up with the next good idea, or be a part of the next big investment, or be influenced by what someone else is doing.
We're talking to our guest today, Minister Carenda Deonne. Go to her website. Excuse me, I lost my place. You can go to her website, carendadeonne.com. And when we're talking about today's topic, how to level up, we all face challenges, but out of those challenges can come opportunities. In what ways do you seek out those new challenges to help you level up in your personal and professional life?
Yeah. So there's three questions that I ask myself, when it's time to level up. and really take things seriously. And we're talking about alignment with purpose. The first thing that I do is I consult. I consult with God. Like I have a conversation, and I really care and want to know what He has to say, what His thoughts are, how is He leading me, how is He directing me. And some people say to me, well, I did. I asked God, I consulted, and I didn't hear anything. And I tell them, well, I'll give you a piece of wisdom that my spiritual mom has told me over and over again, that sometimes silence is also an answer. But I no longer commit to things. I no longer say yes to things without first consulting with God. Number two is I make sure that this new project or this initiative, again, as I said before, aligns with my purpose. That is very, very important because we already have so much going on in our lives. And so when you're talking about setting goals and when you're talking about leveling up and when you're talking about purpose, you've got to be clear on what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. And that leads me to number three. The third thing I do is ask myself, well, what is the why? Why am I saying yes to this assignment? Why am I saying yes to this initiative or saying yes to this commitment? And, what is my why? So, I hope that helps people when they're trying to be clear or get clarity on their next move, or if they're facing something that they just need more wisdom or guidance in. Definitely, those are three things that I do each and every time.
And you mentioned God's direction. When it comes to that, have you ever experienced a negative consequence for ignoring His direction?
Oh, absolutely. 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 Yes. And it's so imperative to definitely make sure you spend that time to really um, say yes and let your yes be yes, your no be no, as God leads you. Because when you want it your way, and you're adamant about doing it your way, it can be a very delayed process. Not to say that what God has for you won't come to pass and it won't happen, but my goodness, you can put your own self in some major detours. I tell people too a lot. This is a personal quote of mine that I say. If your shoes are untied, you will trip. If they stay untied, you will fall. Don't be your own stumbling block. And a lot of times that's what happens. We do become our own stumbling block. And one of the things that I had to learn in life is that I can't have this microwave mentality when it comes to leveling up, because leveling up is a process and it takes time. And so if I look at life in the same way, I might prepare my food, once or twice a week. I'm going to be in for some imbalances, basically, because as nice as it is to have your food warmed really quickly in the microwave, at the end of the day, it has the tendency to cook unevenly. And so you've got to level up with patience, and that is very, very important. And so, yes, have, not doing it God's way, have I experienced situations regarding some delays and things that I had to really learn? Yes. And so that's why it's so important to do it His way, and just be patient in the process.
Listen, I Refocused Radio talking to our guest today, Carenda Deonne. Go to her website, carendadeonne.com. And today we're talking about how to level up. Process of leveling up can also include failure and disappointment. So for our audience, what are some possible ways to reframe disappointment, when we're facing
Yeah.
those storms?
Yeah, that's a good question and good conversation to have, because disappointment is inevitable. We will face it. Some disappointment comes, within our control, so to speak, and some outside, meaning there are times in life where there's disappointment on levels where it feels tragic. So disappointment is something that we will all go through, and it varies. But the one thing that I say a lot regarding disappointment and or when people talk about missed opportunities is perspective. And that's very, very important to understand. It's your perspective regarding that disappointment or that missed opportunity that will make the difference. Now, I'm not saying not to feel what you feel. I'm not saying, not to cry. I'm not saying not to talk to someone or even seek professional help if that's what you need and if that's what it causes for. But what I am saying is you do have to mature enough to look at it from a perspective of, am I going to allow this situation or continue to let the situation hold me back, or am I going to press forward towards the mark, right? Am I going to press forward towards the mark? And so that's about perspective. I'll share this really quickly. I was interviewed not long ago, and I was telling the person that I'm a huge wrestling fan. I've been watching wrestling all my life since a little girl, and one thing that I've learned in life is that not all matches are title matches, and not all matches are main events, but every match prepares you for a bigger stage. And, some of the greatest wrestlers are not respected because of the matches they won, but a lot of wrestlers who are well respected, it's because of the matches they lost. And why is that? It's because they gave it their all in the ring. I mean, they gave it everything they had. And so I tell people all the time that nothing is ever missed when you give it all you have. And even in disappointment, there's hope, even in that, because if you have the breath to breathe and the ability to get up and put one foot in front of the other, that's good. That's good. And so, it's a matter of perspective. And so I hope that helps, even in disappointment, because it can hurt. It does hurt. It doesn't feel good. But at the end of the day, how are you going to see that down the road? Because if you look at it as it's preparing me for a bigger stage, it absolutely can and will do that for you.
You have a remix of When Life Gives You Lemons. And if you can kind of share the full statement of that for our audience.
Yes, when life gives you lemons, listen, do not make lemonade. I'm a big fan. We're not making lemonade anymore. You throw those lemons back. It's the challenge, but you throw those lemons back. So that means, take accountability for what you need to take accountability for. That means, grow in your muscle of maturity. That's so, so important. So, that means you may have to invest in reading some books and materials and linking up with people who know more than you, and minimizing your time on social media and TV, and really pouring into yourself. I think it's important sometimes to have less output and greater input in order to grow. But yeah, we're throwing those lemons back. I love it.
The other thing I'll ask too is when it comes to reflecting on your past success and failures, how do you use your reflecting time to kind of process your next move?
Yeah. Oh my God, that's a good question. How do I use my reflecting time to process on my next move? Well, I use my reflecting time by, really asking myself, what did I learn from the situation? And not just what did I learn, but how has this situation made me a better person? How has this situation given me wisdom? And not to feel that, if I don't want to get super spiritual, but not to feel that heaviness or weight of guilt or shame, right? Because somebody really needs to hear your story. Somebody really needs to hear what you're going through. You can read my bio or my background. I have been through failed marriages. I have been through failed business relationships. I have been through sickness and affliction. I've been through tragedy of the loss of my brother. But if I keep that all to myself, I hinder being a greater witness. And so, um, if there's something that I can do or share that can help or encourage someone, then it's okay that my scars will help identify who I am. I'm good with that.
Once again, listen to I Am Refocused Radio. Talk to our guest, Carenda Deonne. You can also visit her website, carendadeonne.com. And when you look at, you mentioned faith in this episode. When you look at faith, how do you use that influence to power you through life's storms?
Yeah, one of the things I do is I look at I have a thing where it's a brag book, and it's I call it my brag book on God, and I keep a monthly I keep a monthly occurrence, so I keep a monthly record. I was trying to think of the word I wanted to say of the things that God has done on a monthly basis. That it's just like wow, there were times also that I would write a gratitude list, on a daily basis to keep me rooted and grounded in faith. But yes, I do a brag book where it's called, bragging on God, and I just write testimonials or short sentences or maybe a bullet point or whatever regarding each month and what he's done. I also look at the faith of those before me. I have a grandmother who's 91 years old, never been educated. I think she just has an elementary school education, picked crabs, was a crab picker all of her life. But she had faith in God. She raised her four children. She was able to, purchase a home and buy a car and provide for her children. And out of her womb and out of her birthing, she's got grandchildren and great grandchildren and great great grandchildren who are doing some phenomenal things. And so even looking at those who came before, and really leaning on their prayers, I can't speak for anybody else's family, but the men and women in my family, we pray. I mean, they are prayer warriors. And so I know, like, if I'm weak, I can lean on the strength of someone else's prayers, to help build my faith as well.
If someone right now is listening to this and they're all excited because, they're ready to go to the next level and make things happen. But what if a person listening right now, what if they're broken and they're hopeless and they're wondering what their better future will look like? What would you tell them?
So the first thing I would tell them, the first thing I would ask them is, do you believe that Jesus loves you? Do you believe that there is a love that runs so deep for you that no matter what it is that you're going through, they are there for you. They are there to hear you, to listen to you, to develop you. Like, do you believe that he truly loves you? That there is nothing you could ever do or say that would cause him to turn his back on you? Do you believe that insults and disappointments can turn into results? Do you believe that? And I would challenge them to build their heart vocabulary. That is so, so important when you're in a place of despair, when you're in a place of loneliness, when you're in a place of feeling defeated. You've got to build your heart vocabulary. And so I would ask them to start thinking of words and not just think them, but speak them, to build their heart vocabulary on a daily basis. That is so, so, so important. So, for example, for me, quickly, because I think we're running out of time soon, but I would say things, I say things on a daily basis, such as, today, good news will locate me. Today, if the birds of the air eat well, so will I. Today, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Today, every insult will turn into results. So, you've got to build your heart vocabulary. That is so, so important when you are going through. And definitely link with someone that's trustworthy. Yes, ultimately, it is God who is our heart fixer, and he is the one who does the ultimate changing and healing and restoration. But you still need to link with someone who you feel is trustworthy, that you can be vulnerable with in that time, and that will help help you get to where you need to be in your next level in life.
Once again, talking to our guest, Carenda Deonne. Go to her website, carendadeonne.com. And today's topic, how to level up. As we wrap this up with our audience, what's the best call to action if someone's interested in your services?
Oh, wow. Best call of action. Absolutely. Definitely go to my website. Thank you so much for plugging that in throughout the show tonight. But definitely, yes, visit me on my website at carendadeonne.com. You also can find me on social media at Carenda Deonne LLC on Facebook and Carenda Deonne on Instagram, as well as Carenda Deonne on YouTube. So there's several ways to get in contact with me. I would love for us to connect and for us to level up. I mean, it's so important.
We've been talking to author, keynote speaker, TV personality, minister, Carenda Deonne. I want to say thank you for your time talking to I Am Refocused Radio.
Thank you.
All right, I'll get that out within 24 hours.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed that. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, ma'am. Anytime.
All right.
I always tell people you got a book or something you want to put out there in the future, always welcome to be on.
I appreciate it.
Yes,
all right.
ma'am.
Have a good weekend.
You too. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.